So first off, what is a circular economy? Because we've mentioned it a few times now, and I realize that might be quite new for many people. So in the current economic model, we generally take things from the natural environment, we make something from it, then we use it, often for a very short period of time, and then we dispose of it. And sorry, I'm not going to share my video because the connection here is not that stable. So sorry for that interruption. So basically we're going to use resources for a relatively short space of time, and then we dispose of it, and often that is in unsustainable ways. And this is what is called a linear economy. But in a circular economy, we try to make better use of all materials and components and products that we have in our economy. We try to limit the volumes of materials that we take and the amounts that go to waste as well. All the while, we keep a healthy economy going and make sure that people have access to the things that they need to live really good lives. So, okay. Keep having this issue with my slides. Here we go. So there are a number of approaches that we can take to realize a circular economy. So as a company, you could try to reduce the amount of resources that you use, for example, through optimizing the shape of products and components, or through using alternative materials, for example, or you can try to slow the speed of which resources and products flow through the economy. So basically that is about extending the amount of time between the moment of production and the moment that something goes to waste. And there's a number of strategies that can be used for that, such as the repair or reusing components and products, or repurposing them for another function, or remanufacturing. And there's a lot more strategies that can be used here. Then there is the closing of resource flows within the economy, which basically means recycling. So basically recovering the material and making sure that it's being used in new products and components again. And then there's the integrating of resources, because some materials, they can't be circulated directly back into the economy, but they could be safely embedded back into natural processes that can then help us to regenerate those materials again. So I will go into the detail with some examples for a few of these in a minute, but first I wanted to speak about, why as a company you would want to join, or you may want to join a circular economy. And that is of course because joining a circular economy makes a lot of business sense, because when the costs of resources are increasing as they are now, the most competitive companies will be the ones that are the most resource efficient. So the more value that you can generate from a resource, the better you will be doing. And there are a number of specific economic reasons that other companies have taken for the adoption of circular economy strategies, such as that it can reduce costs of energy and of waste management bills. It can increase the security of supply of materials that you may need in your manufacturing processes. That pertains to the volume of materials, but also to having materials of the right quality at the right price and at the right time, of course. If as a company you're doing the right thing for environment and for community, then it can also really help to motivate your staff and can result in higher productivity. For the same reason, you can count on greater customer loyalty. And related to that is, of course, sort of more social motivations. It can strengthen your reputation and give you that extra competitive edge to your company activities. As I mentioned, as in a circular economy, it can be about your company, and first and foremost, it probably will be, but it's also a really good way to support your local community of businesses. And of course, if your fellow businesses are doing well, then there's a good chance that you have people to trade with, and it can then strengthen your own position again. So Circular economy is a really fantastic way to contribute to corporate social responsibility. If you have such a policy, which many companies will be having, because it's often a requirement, of course, in your supply chains. So it can really contribute to fulfilling commitments in there. It's also a really good way to limit your carbon emissions and reduce other environmental impacts. A lot of resource use is associated with carbon emissions because of the extraction and the processing of materials costs energy. And if we limit the amount of resources that we are processing, then we're also reducing all of those associated impacts with it as well. So there is a whole mixture here of economic and social and environmental reasons to join circular economy. So now let's look at a few examples of this. So first up is reuse. So that is basically using products and components again for the same function. And so basically a car will remain a means for transport, a light bulb will remain offering the function to produce visibility, a washing machine will be used to clean clothing, etc. So this is often associated with the uptake of product service systems. So rather than selling the ownership of a product, you would sell the access to its function instead. So you keep, as a company, you keep the ownership of something in to yourself, which offers a number of benefits. And this is already being used by numerous companies. Of course, cars is a really well-known example. It's very normal to rent out cars, but also tools, occasional clothing, washing machines and other white goods, headsets, jeans, things that you may only need for a short amount of time, such as baby clothing and other things that you may need. All of those things are being offered already as a service rather than selling it as a product. So this is more affordable for consumers, and it also has business advantages as well. In a completely different sector than the examples that I just mentioned, in Yorkshire, there's, for example, Cleveland Steel and Tubes, who are basically taking unused tubes or also tubes that are already being used in other sectors. They're being collected and cleaned and basically collected here in Yorkshire and then offered back to the market. And they're making a really good business out of that. All right, moving on to industrial symbiosis. Industrial symbiosis is the process in which a waste or a byproduct from one company becomes a resource for another company. And that can be just between two companies, but it can also actually be part of a wider development in which we basically create a whole regional industrial symbiosis system in which all companies are supporting each other and not letting anything go to waste. And there are really good examples of that around the world, including in the UK. Actually, there are thousands of companies in the UK who are already using industrial symbiosis practices. One example of that is, for example, in the mattress manufacturing, where foam offcuts are a common waste and they can be used as soft linings in upholstering, or they can be crumbed up further and then used as filling into cushions or other mattresses again. So it can be about materials, but it can equally be about equipment that may be sitting idle because of change in the economy, such as what is happening now, or maybe it's about space. So it can be about stuff, but it can also be about facilities that are being used in an industrial symbiosis. And it's really about making sure to kind of think outside of the box about what you can do with all of the resources in its broader sense that you have within your company, and make sure that you continue to generate value from that, even when times are getting a bit tougher like they are now. So the next strategy that I want to bring up is to reduce material use. Obviously, reducing material use has a financial benefit, because if you buy less stuff, then you also spend less money on that. Arguably, this is the most important circular economy strategy. Reducing the amount of materials that goes into economy is the most effective way of moving towards an overall circular economy. This can take many forms, and I firmly believe that almost every company can take part in this. So whether you are more of a service-based company, for example, you could go for a paperless office and reduce other materials that you are using. Also, it can be moving, for example, in textiles towards on-demand production, which basically means that you're only producing what is being asked for, and often it can also be quite custom made. The benefit of that is that you also develop much closer customer relations as well, which can bring other benefits for your company. It can also be about using alternative materials with a lower environmental impact, such as using natural dyes or using softer woods as parts of furniture where it does not adversely impact on the quality. So next up is repair. So obviously repair is the fixing of products or components. It can be preventative, can be planned, or it can also be ad hoc. It could be that you keep a repaired product or a component in your own ownership, or it can be that kind of changes ownership between companies. Those are different options. So, for example, it's not necessarily the case that the manufacturer would take back a product or a component and fixes it. It can also be, for example, somebody who is currently in retail or having another activity within the economy. Two examples from the region here. So first up is tech buyer. You will have noticed that at the moment there is a increased demand for digital products because of all the home working. Basically what they do is take in used equipment and they fix it, often even refurbish it and make it available again for new users. And another good example is I believe in Huddersfield, is Reliant Domestic Services, who are basically fixing vacuum cleaners and other floor care equipment. Repair is a really important circular economy strategy. It's a great help in keeping products and components longer in use, and that helps you to create more value as well. Sort of like a supersize repair is the remanufacturing. So remanufacturing involves often more processes. So it's about taking in products and components at the end of their use, sort them, select them. So things that cannot be remanufactured again would be sent away for recycling, for example. Things are being disassembled, then cleaned, inspected, fixed where it's possible, or replaced, and then being put back together for the next user. What is interesting about remanufacturing is that actually often the functionality, the quality is better than a new product. So all of sort of the initial issues maybe with a piece of equipment that you would get if it's newly manufactured, they are basically solved. So this is a really kind of like a superstar in circular economy that can create very high value. A regional company that's already using remanufacturing is the Hindle Group, who are taking components and like I said, remanufacture those. Okay, I don't want to talk too much today. So I wanted to finish on the note that every company in the region can play a part in the circular economy. And it really doesn't matter whether you are a supplier, whether you are a manufacturer, whether you are in retail, whether you are a service company, a waste management company, people who are transporting things in between places. Everybody can play a part in this, and there's value to be generated and won for everyone. And it's really about identifying those new processes. It's about identifying those new products and services, making the links and speaking with each other and co-producing those new circular economy solutions. And today is very much about starting that conversation. What could be your role in a circular economy? And I would finish on a note that everybody should try to play a unique role. So every company has a unique part to play in the economy, and that's a good thing because that means that you have a competitive advantage over others. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you're going to copy what others are doing. I would recommend that you find your own way, and I think every company will have to have a different approach to this because it really depends on your customer base, or what your customers actually want in terms of circular economy products and services, which other companies are around you, what are the resources that are available to you. All of that will impact on the particular circular economy strategy that is right for you. And I would recommend that you find that strategy, and we are here to help you with that. So within this project, we have space to help companies, but later you will also hear from both of the local enterprise partnerships and their programs about what other support is available as well.